Hello, friends. If you're curious about the movie The Mask, 1994, you're in the perfect place. Don't forget to give this video a quick like, it really helps us out. And if you're new here, hit subscribe to stay updated on all the latest movie deep dives. Let's jump right in. The year was 1994, and audiences around the world were introduced to a film that would redefine comedic storytelling and special effects for years to come. The Mask is not just a movie. It's a riotous spectacle that brings the best of fantasy, slapstick comedy, and heartwarming moments into one unforgettable experience. Directed by Chuck Russell, this cinematic masterpiece catapulted Jim Carrey to global stardom and became an iconic addition to 90s pop culture. The story revolves around an ordinary man named Stanley Ipkiss, whose life takes a fantastical turn when he discovers an ancient mask with powers beyond his wildest imagination. At its core, the movie is an electrifying blend of comedy and fantasy, with a touch of romance and action to keep audiences on the edge of their seats. The fictional Edge City serves as the perfect backdrop, a neon-drenched urban landscape brimming with jazz clubs, crime bosses, and dark alleys that come alive with the movie's cartoonish energy. Stanley Ipkiss, played with unparalleled charm and elasticity by Jim Carrey, is a lovable underdog. He's a timid bank clerk who's constantly taken advantage of by his boss, his friends, and even strangers. His luck changes one night when he stumbles upon a strange wooden mask washed ashore. Little does Stanley know that this seemingly innocuous artifact harbors the mischievous spirit of Loki, the Norse god of chaos. When Stanley puts on the mask, he transforms into an exaggerated, green-faced version of himself with boundless energy and reality-bending powers. Suddenly, he's no longer the shy pushover but a fearless, larger-than-life trickster who can manipulate his surroundings like a living cartoon. From conjuring costumes out of thin air to evading bullets with Looney Tunes-style antics, the mask's abilities are both hilarious and awe-inspiring. However, these powers don't come without consequences. Stanley's nighttime escapades as the mask attract the attention of Edge City's criminal underworld, led by the dangerous and power-hungry Dorian Tyrell. Adding to the intrigue is Tina Carlisle, a stunning lounge singer played by Cameron Diaz in her breakout role. Tina is caught between her loyalty to her boyfriend Dorian, a ruthless mobster, and her growing affection for the sweet and earnest Stanley. Their chemistry adds a layer of romance to the story, making Stanley's journey all the more compelling. The narrative masterfully intertwines moments of humor, danger, and heart as Stanley discovers that the mask not only amplifies his personality but also brings out hidden desires and fears. The story kicks into high gear when Dorian learns about the mask's powers and becomes desperate to wield it himself. The tension escalates as the stakes grow higher, with Stanley forced to face not only Dorian's wrath but also the consequences of his own reckless actions as the mask. The transformation sequences are dazzling, with special effects that were groundbreaking for the time. Jim Carrey's performance, combined with the cutting-edge visuals, creates a character that's as mesmerizing as he is chaotic. One of the film's most iconic moments comes when the mask bursts into the Coco Bongo nightclub, a whirlwind of energy in a bright yellow zoot suit, captivating the crowd with his infectious confidence and charm. From the uproarious Cuban Pete dance sequence to the tense confrontations with the police and Dorian's gang, the movie never loses its momentum. The stakes rise dramatically when Dorian finally gains possession of the mask, unleashing a dark and terrifying transformation that contrasts sharply with Stanley's playful antics. Dorian's version of the mask is a chilling reminder of the artifact's power to amplify the wearer's inner nature, turning him into a monstrous, unstoppable force. As the city descends into chaos, Stanley is forced to step up and become the hero Edge City needs. Not with the mask's powers, but with his own courage and resourcefulness. The climactic showdown at the Coco Bongo nightclub is both thrilling and emotionally satisfying, as Stanley faces off against Dorian in a battle that tests his wits and resolve. Tina's bravery in outsmarting Dorian and her unwavering faith in Stanley add emotional depth to the action-packed finale. Ultimately, Stanley's victory proves that true strength lies not in supernatural powers but in the courage to stand up for oneself and the people you care about. The film ends on a triumphant note, with Stanley choosing to let go of the mask and embrace his newfound confidence and sense of self. It's a heartwarming conclusion that reinforces the movie's underlying message. The power to change your life comes from within. At the same time, the lingering mystery of the mask's origin and its potential for chaos leaves audiences with a sense of wonder and excitement. From its imaginative visuals to its unforgettable characters, The Mask is a cinematic gem that continues to captivate audiences decades after its release. It's a perfect blend of humor, fantasy, and heart, with Jim Carrey delivering a performance that's as iconic as it is unmatched. Stay tuned as we dive deeper into the themes, characters, and fascinating behind-the-scenes stories that make this movie a timeless classic. And if you're enjoying this journey, don't forget to like and subscribe for more in-depth movie explorations. The story begins in Edge City, a bustling urban landscape teeming with neon lights, smoky jazz clubs, and shadowy alleyways. Amid this energetic backdrop, we meet Stanley Ipkiss, a mild-mannered and chronically unlucky bank clerk. Stanley's world is a monotonous swirl of disappointing moments. From being berated by his boss to enduring a manipulative friendship with his mechanic, his life seems to be an endless cycle of being overlooked and underappreciated. But what sets Stanley apart is his gentle heart and quirky sense of humor, which make him a lovable underdog. One of the most pivotal moments unfolds when Tina Carlisle, an enchanting lounge singer, walks into Stanley's bank. Tina, played with radiant charm by Diaz, is an alluring presence that instantly captures Stanley's heart. Unbeknownst to Stanley, Tina isn't just a beautiful customer. She's working for her mobster boyfriend, Dorian Tyrell, who has sinister plans to rob the bank. As Tina flirts with Stanley to gather intel, he's too mesmerized by her beauty to realize the danger lurking just beneath the surface. That same day, Stanley's life takes another turn for the worse. After promising his mechanic a pair of concert tickets, Stanley finds himself at the mercy of a temperamental loaner car. A disastrous night ensues, culminating in Stanley being denied entry to the swanky Coco Bongo nightclub, where Tina performs. Soaked from a rainstorm and utterly humiliated, Stanley stumbles to a nearby bridge to gather his thoughts. There, he notices something strange floating in the water, a wooden mask. At first glance, the mask seems like a trivial object, but something about it draws Stanley in. Stanley takes the mask home, where it sits quietly on his coffee table. As he examines it, the mask appears to pulsate with an otherworldly energy. Intrigued yet skeptical, Stanley decides to put it on. In an instant, a surreal transformation occurs. A whirlwind of green energy envelopes him, and Stanley is no longer the shy, awkward man he was moments before. Instead, he becomes the Mask, a chaotic, larger-than-life trickster with a green face, a cartoonish personality, and powers that defy reality. The first night as the Mask is pure mayhem. Stanley's newfound powers allow him to bend the laws of physics, conjure objects out of thin air, and navigate the world with the energy of a live-action cartoon. He wreaks havoc on his apartment building, humiliates his overbearing landlord, and dances through the streets in a tornado of color and mischief. Yet, amidst the chaos, there's an undeniable joy in watching Stanley embrace this newfound freedom. For the first time, he's no longer the pushover who gets trampled by life. He's in control, and it's exhilarating. As dawn breaks, Stanley wakes up, dazed and disoriented. He initially dismisses the night's events as a bizarre dream, only to realize that the destruction in his apartment is very real. The mask, now resting innocently on his dresser, seems to mock him. Stanley decides to investigate its origins and heads to a local historian, who reveals that the mask is linked to Loki, the Norse god of mischief. Its powers are said to unleash the wearer's innermost desires, amplifying their personality to fantastical extremes. This revelation leaves Stanley both awed and terrified. Meanwhile, Dorian Tyrell's plans are in motion. The ambitious mobster is growing increasingly frustrated with his position as second-in-command to Nico, a powerful crime lord. Dorian's schemes to seize control of Edge City are both ruthless and cunning, and his desire for power mirrors the mask's chaotic energy. When Dorian learns of the mask's exploits through a series of wild rumors, he becomes obsessed with finding the mysterious figure, believing it to be a valuable tool for his criminal empire. As Stanley grapples with the mask's allure, he decides to use its powers to make a bold move. Donning the mask once again, he crashes the Coco Bongo nightclub in a dazzling display of bravado. Dressed in an unforgettable yellow zoot suit, the mask commands the room with infectious confidence, dancing and performing with the flair of a seasoned showman. His antics quickly draw the attention of Tina, who is both intrigued and charmed by this enigmatic character. For Stanley, this moment is a dream come true, a chance to win over the woman he admires and assert himself in a way he never thought possible. However, the night takes a dark turn when Dorian confronts the mask. While Stanley's playful antics have captured the crowd's attention, they've also painted a target on his back. A tense standoff ensues, with Stanley narrowly escaping Dorian's grasp. The encounter serves as a chilling reminder of the mask's double-edged nature. While it grants Stanley extraordinary abilities, it also exposes him to dangers far beyond anything he's ever faced. As the city buzzes with speculation about the mysterious green-faced figure, Stanley finds himself at a crossroads. The mask offers him a life of excitement and power, but it also draws him deeper into a web of danger and deception. The stakes are raised when the police, led by the bumbling yet determined Lieutenant Kellaway, begin investigating the mask's connection to a series of chaotic events across the city. Stanley's double life becomes increasingly difficult to manage, and the line between hero and villain blurs with each passing moment. Through these twists and turns, the story masterfully balances humor, action, and emotional depth. Stanley's journey is as much about self-discovery as it is about embracing the fantastical. As he navigates the challenges of wielding the mask's powers, he begins to uncover strengths he never knew he had, both with and without the mask. The film's early events set the stage for a thrilling adventure, leaving audiences eager to see how Stanley will face the escalating conflicts and ultimately decide the mask's fate. The story intensifies as Stanley Ipkiss begins to realize the full extent of the chaos that the mask has brought into his life. Though the mask empowers him in ways he could never have imagined, it also places a heavy burden on his shoulders. The carefree mischief of his first nights as the mask quickly gives way to darker consequences, and Stanley is forced to confront the reality that his actions, no matter how well-intentioned, have far-reaching effects. Dorian Tyrell, having witnessed the mask's incredible powers firsthand, becomes obsessed with obtaining it for his own sinister purposes. Fueled by ambition and a desire to overthrow his boss, Nico, Dorian orchestrates a plan to take control of Edge City's underworld. But there's one obstacle in his path: the green-faced trickster who outshone him at the Coco Bongo nightclub. Tyrell's obsession drives him to uncover the identity of the mask, and it doesn't take long for his goons to zero in on Stanley. Meanwhile, Stanley struggles to balance his double life. By day, he's the meek, kind-hearted bank clerk who's barely holding it together. By night, he's the mask, a larger-than-life figure who operates with reckless abandon. The dichotomy between his two personas begins to take a toll, especially as Lieutenant Kellaway intensifies his investigation. The police are determined to bring the mask to justice, and Stanley finds himself constantly looking over his shoulder. His apartment is raided, his belongings searched, and his nerves pushed to the brink. Amid this turmoil, Tina Carlyle emerges as a beacon of hope for Stanley. Though initially drawn to the mask's charm and flamboyance, Tina begins to see the genuine, vulnerable man beneath the facade. Her growing affection for Stanley adds a layer of emotional complexity to the story, as she grapples with her loyalty to Dorian and her feelings for this unlikely hero. In one pivotal moment, Tina warns Stanley of Dorian's plans, urging him to stay away from the Coco Bongo nightclub, where a deadly confrontation is brewing. Despite her warning, Stanley realizes he can no longer run from his problems. He must face the consequences of his actions and take responsibility for the chaos he's unleashed. In a desperate bid to protect Tina and put an end to Dorian's schemes, Stanley decides to confront his nemesis head-on. But before he can act, he's ambushed by Dorian's men and forcibly taken to Tyrell's lair. There, Dorian seizes the mask and dons it himself. What follows is a chilling transformation. Unlike Stanley, whose inner desires manifested in playful, cartoonish antics, Dorian's darker nature turns the mask into a terrifying force of destruction. With his newfound powers, Dorian becomes nearly unstoppable, his strength and ruthlessness amplified to monstrous levels. He uses the mask to solidify his grip on Edge City, eliminating anyone who dares to oppose him. The once comical powers of the mask take on a menacing tone, and the stakes are raised to life-or-death proportions. As Dorian prepares to execute his grand plan, a violent takeover of the Coco Bongo nightclub during a high-profile event, Stanley finds himself at his lowest point. Stripped of the mask and imprisoned by the police, he's forced to reckon with the choices that led him here. Yet, even in the face of overwhelming odds, Stanley refuses to give up. With the help of his loyal dog, Milo, and a newfound sense of courage, he orchestrates a daring escape, determined to stop Dorian and save Tina. The climax unfolds in a dazzling, action-packed sequence at the Coco Bongo nightclub. Dorian, now fully consumed by the mask's power, holds Tina hostage as he prepares to eliminate his enemies and seize control of the city. The atmosphere is electric, the tension palpable, as Stanley sneaks into the club with Milo by his side. What follows is a masterful blend of comedy, action, and heart-pounding drama. Stanley's ingenuity and quick thinking shine as he navigates the chaos, outsmarting Dorian's men and inching closer to his goal. In a clever and heartwarming twist, Milo becomes an unlikely hero. The resourceful dog manages to steal the mask from Dorian, delivering it to Stanley in the nick of time. With the mask back in his possession, Stanley transforms once more, reclaiming the powers that had once overwhelmed him. This time, however, he wields them with purpose and control, fully embracing his role as a hero. The final showdown between Stanley and Dorian is a spectacle of creativity and chaos. Using the mask's powers, Stanley turns the nightclub into a surreal battlefield, conjuring absurd yet effective weapons and outlandish distractions. The sequence is a testament to the film's ability to blend humor with high-stakes action, keeping viewers on the edge of their seats while delivering laugh-out-loud moments. In the end, Stanley's wit and determination prevail, and Dorian is defeated in a spectacularly satisfying fashion. As the dust settles, Stanley removes the mask, choosing to relinquish its power and embrace his true self. The experience has transformed him, not through the mask's supernatural abilities, but through the courage and confidence he's discovered within himself. Tina, moved by Stanley's bravery and authenticity, shares a tender moment with him, signaling the start of a new chapter for both of them. The film concludes with a sense of closure and optimism. The mask, now a symbol of both chaos and self-discovery, is discarded into the river, where its journey began. Milo, ever the mischievous companion, retrieves it in a playful nod to the story's cyclical nature. As Stanley and Tina drive off into the sunrise, the city buzzes with speculation about the mysterious green-faced figure, unaware of the quiet hero who saved the day. The second half of the film masterfully ties together its themes of identity, responsibility, and self-acceptance. It's a thrilling and emotionally satisfying conclusion that leaves audiences reflecting on the power of embracing one's true self, and the chaos that can ensue when we let our wildest desires run unchecked. The characters in The Mask, 1994, are a vivid mix of personalities, each contributing to the film's unique charm and dynamic storytelling. At the heart of the story is Stanley Ipkiss, a character whose transformation over the course of the film is both hilarious and profound. Played with endearing vulnerability and boundless energy by Jim Carrey, Stanley begins as a quintessential underdog, a kind-hearted but awkward bank clerk who is routinely underestimated by those around him. His journey from timid everyman to an unlikely hero is a central arc that resonates deeply with audiences, as it speaks to the universal desire to break free from societal expectations and embrace one's true potential. Stanley's introduction paints him as a classic nice guy, someone who is generous to a fault but often overlooked or taken advantage of. His interactions with his boss, co-workers, and even strangers showcase his tendency to avoid confrontation, choosing instead to fade into the background. Yet, beneath this meek exterior lies a man longing for excitement and validation. It's this suppressed yearning that the magical mask brings to the surface, unleashing a side of Stanley that is uninhibited, confident, and larger than life. The mask doesn't just amplify his personality, it reveals facets of himself he never knew existed. As the mask, Stanley becomes a living cartoon, embodying outrageous humor, exaggerated charisma, and fearless bravado. The contrast between Stanley's shy persona and his wild alter ego is a testament to Carrey's comedic genius, as he seamlessly transitions between the two extremes. While the mask allows Stanley to explore his repressed desires, it also forces him to confront the consequences of his actions. The exaggerated antics of his masked persona, though initially entertaining, quickly spiral out of control, attracting unwanted attention from law enforcement and criminal elements alike. This duality within Stanley, the timid man and the chaotic trickster, creates a compelling inner conflict. By the film's conclusion, he learns that true strength comes not from the mask's powers, but from his own courage and resourcefulness. His decision to discard the mask signifies a powerful moment of self-acceptance, as he realizes that he doesn't need external validation to be worthy or capable. Opposite Stanley is Tina Carlisle, played with elegance and charm by Diaz in her breakout role. Tina is introduced as the glamorous love interest, a nightclub singer who seems to exist in a world far removed from Stanley's. Yet, as the story unfolds, Tina proves to be much more than a damsel in distress. Her initial allure is rooted in her beauty and poise, but it's her intelligence and resilience that truly define her character. Despite her association with Dorian Tyrell, the film's villain, Tina gradually reveals her dissatisfaction with the dangerous lifestyle he represents. Her growing attraction to Stanley, particularly after recognizing his bravery and sincerity, underscores her own desire for authenticity and kindness in a world dominated by greed and violence. Tina's relationship with Stanley is central to the film's emotional core. While she is initially captivated by the mask's flamboyant persona, her eventual affection for Stanley himself reinforces the idea that genuine connection comes from honesty and vulnerability, not superficial charm. Tina's journey mirrors Stanley's in many ways, as she, too, must confront her fears and take control of her own destiny. Her courage in standing up to Dorian and aligning herself with Stanley highlights her strength and integrity, making her a memorable and multifaceted character. Dorian Tyrell, portrayed by Greene, serves as the film's primary antagonist, a ruthless and ambitious crime boss determined to overthrow his superior, Nico, and take control of Edge City's criminal underworld. Dorian is the antithesis of Stanley in every way. Where Stanley is kind-hearted and unassuming, Dorian is cold, calculating, and driven by a lust for power. His discovery of the mask's abilities adds a sinister dimension to the story, as it allows him to channel his violent tendencies into terrifying displays of strength and dominance. Dorian's transformation into a monstrous version of the mask is a stark contrast to Stanley's playful and mischievous alter ego, highlighting the mask's ability to amplify its wearer's inner nature. Despite his villainous demeanor, Dorian is not without complexity. His strained relationship with Nico and his frustration with being undermined suggest a man who feels trapped by the very system he seeks to control. This underlying resentment fuels his actions, making him a formidable and relentless adversary. However, his inability to wield the mask's powers with the same finesse as Stanley ultimately becomes his downfall. Dorian's arc serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked ambition and the corrupting influence of power. Lieutenant Kellaway, played by Riegert, adds a layer of humor and tension to the story as the determined police officer tasked with apprehending the mask. Kellaway is the quintessential by-the-book cop, whose skepticism and frustration often put him at odds with Stanley. Though he is largely portrayed as a comedic foil, Kellaway's persistence and moral conviction make him a credible presence in the film. His interactions with Stanley, particularly during their cat-and-mouse exchanges, provide some of the movie's most entertaining moments. Despite his initial misjudgment of Stanley, Kellaway's eventual realization of the truth underscores the film's theme of looking beyond surface appearances. Charlie Shoemaker, Stanley's best friend and co-worker, adds a touch of levity and camaraderie to the story. Played by Jeni, Charlie is the classic comic sidekick, quick-witted, opportunistic, and always ready with a quip. Though he often teases Stanley, Charlie's loyalty and concern for his friend are evident, particularly when Stanley's life begins to unravel. Charlie's playful demeanor provides a counterbalance to the film's more intense moments, and his unwavering support for Stanley highlights the importance of friendship in navigating life's challenges. Milo, Stanley's lovable Jack Russell Terrier, is a character in his own right. With his expressive face and boundless energy, Milo steals nearly every scene he's in. The dog's cleverness and loyalty are integral to the plot, particularly during the film's climax, when Milo retrieves the mask and aids Stanley in his battle against Dorian. Milo's antics add a layer of charm and humor to the film, making him a fan favorite among audiences. Together, these characters form a vibrant and dynamic ensemble that drives the narrative of The Mask. Each one, from the hero to the villain, is crafted with care and depth, contributing to the film's blend of comedy, action, and heart. Their interactions and development create a tapestry of relationships that are as entertaining as they are meaningful, ensuring that The Mask remains a timeless and beloved classic. The Making of The Mask, 1994, is a treasure trove of fascinating behind-the-scenes stories, unusual occurrences, and little-known trivia that elevate it from a mere film to a piece of cinematic history. While the movie itself dazzles with its humor, heart, and over-the-top antics, the journey to bring it to life was filled with surprises, creative challenges, and unforgettable moments that shaped its iconic status. One of the strangest facts about the movie lies in its origins. The Mask was initially conceived as a dark, horror-themed adaptation of the comic book series by Dark Horse Comics. The source material was far more violent and graphic, with the titular mask turning its wearer into a homicidal maniac. Early drafts of the screenplay leaned heavily into this dark tone, but as the project evolved, the focus shifted toward comedy. This transformation came largely at the suggestion of director Chuck Russell, who envisioned the story as a surreal, cartoon-inspired adventure. It's fascinating to consider how a film that could have been a gruesome horror story instead became one of the most beloved comedies of the 1990s. Casting Jim Carrey as Stanley Ipkiss was a stroke of genius, but it wasn't an obvious choice at the time. Carrey was still a rising star, known primarily for his work on the sketch comedy show In Living Color. However, his ability to deliver physical comedy with unmatched energy and precision made him the perfect fit for the role. Carrey's performance as Stanley and his alter ego, The Mask, is a masterclass in comedic timing and improvisation. Interestingly, the film's budget constraints worked in Carrey's favor. The production team couldn't afford to rely heavily on computer-generated effects, so they leaned into Carrey's physicality, allowing him to bring the character to life through exaggerated movements and facial expressions that mirrored the zany energy of classic cartoon characters. Cameron Diaz's casting as Tina Carlisle is another behind-the-scenes story worth sharing. The Mask marked Diaz's film debut, and her journey to landing the role was anything but conventional. A relative unknown at the time, Diaz was working as a model when she was discovered by a casting agent. After an impressive audition, she was cast just weeks before filming began. Diaz's natural charm and screen presence were immediately evident, and she quickly became a standout in the film. What's particularly interesting is that Diaz had no prior singing experience, yet she performed the iconic nightclub number, G Baby, Ain't I Good to You herself, adding another layer of authenticity to her character. The visual effects in The Mask were groundbreaking for their time, blending CGI and practical effects to create a surreal, cartoon-like aesthetic. Industrial Light and Magic, ILM, the team behind the effects, used cutting-edge technology to achieve the exaggerated facial transformations and slapstick antics of The Mask. However, some of the most memorable moments, such as the Mask's spinning dance moves or his elastic facial contortions, were enhanced by Carrey's own abilities rather than digital effects. This seamless integration of practical and digital techniques set a new standard for visual storytelling and earned the film an Academy Award nomination for Best Visual Effects. The iconic green mask itself is a fascinating piece of movie lore. The prop was meticulously designed to look ancient and otherworldly, drawing inspiration from Norse mythology. In the film, the mask is said to be imbued with the powers of Loki, the mischievous Norse god. While this backstory adds depth to the narrative, it's also a clever nod to the chaotic, trickster-like qualities of the mask's persona. Behind the scenes, multiple versions of the mask were created, each serving a specific purpose depending on the scene. Some were lightweight and flexible for action sequences, while others were more detailed for close-up shots. The film's music and dance sequences are another intriguing aspect of its production. The nightclub scenes, particularly the iconic Cuban Pete dance number, required extensive choreography and rehearsal. Jim Carrey's background in comedy and improvisation proved invaluable, as he brought his unique flair to every dance move and comedic beat. The infectious energy of these scenes was further amplified by the film's lively soundtrack, which features a mix of swing, jazz, and big band music. This vibrant musical backdrop not only set the tone for the film but also contributed to its enduring popularity. One of the more unusual occurrences during production involved Carrey's improvisational style. Known for his spontaneity, Carrey often deviated from the script, creating moments of pure comedic gold. Many of these ad-libs made it into the final cut, including the mask's over-the-top catchphrases and absurd antics. This unpredictable energy sometimes left the cast and crew struggling to keep a straight face, resulting in numerous outtakes and bloopers. While this made filming challenging at times, it also brought an infectious sense of fun to the set, which translated seamlessly onto the screen. The film's budget, a modest $23 million, posed several challenges for the production team. Despite these constraints, the filmmakers managed to deliver a visually stunning and highly entertaining movie that grossed over $350 million worldwide. This impressive box office performance solidified The Mask as one of the year's biggest hits and a defining moment in Carrey's career. The film's success also paved the way for a franchise, including an animated series and a less successful sequel, Son of the Mask. Another fascinating detail is the cultural impact of The Mask. The film's playful and irreverent tone struck a chord with audiences, inspiring countless parodies, merchandise, and even Halloween costumes. The character of The Mask became a pop culture icon, celebrated for his bold style, outrageous behavior, and signature catchphrases like "Sismokin." This widespread appeal helped the film maintain its relevance and popularity decades after its release. One of the most heartwarming stories from the set involves Milo, the Jack Russell Terrier who played Stanley's loyal companion. Milo's performance was a standout in the film, thanks to his incredible training and natural charisma. However, what many fans don't know is that some of Milo's most impressive stunts required creative problem-solving. For example, in the scene where Milo retrieves the mask, the crew used treats and clever cues to guide the dog's actions. These moments of collaboration between the trainers and the filmmakers highlight the level of care and ingenuity that went into every aspect of the production. The legacy of The Mask extends beyond its entertainment value. The film's innovative use of effects and its blend of humor and heart have influenced countless filmmakers and storytellers. Its themes of self-discovery and embracing one's true self continue to resonate with audiences, making it a timeless classic that remains as entertaining today as it was in 1994. The Mask, 1994, is much more than a light-hearted comedy. It's a layered cinematic experience that combines humor, visual spectacle, and deeper emotional undertones. When viewed through a critical lens, several significant events in the film reveal how they shaped the story, enhanced the thematic resonance, and contributed to the movie's lasting impact. The film's opening sequence sets the tone with an underwater excavation that unearths the titular mask. This seemingly unassuming discovery hints at the power and chaos to come. While it might appear as a standard plot device to get the story rolling, it serves a larger purpose. The mask is more than a magical artifact, it's a representation of suppressed desires and untapped potential. This introduction invites viewers to consider what the mask symbolizes, not just for the characters but for society at large, a duality between restraint and unbridled freedom. When we first meet Stanley Ipkiss, his mundane existence as a downtrodden, overly polite bank clerk paints a stark contrast to the larger-than-life character he becomes. Stanley's initial portrayal invites empathy, as many viewers can relate to feeling overlooked or undervalued. The moment he dons the mask for the first time is transformative, both for Stanley and the narrative. The chaotic energy unleashed by the mask introduces not only comedy but also a reflection on the human condition. Stanley's exaggerated actions and cartoon-like antics highlight the liberating and often destructive nature of unchecked freedom. It's a critical turning point that underscores the film's central question: who are we when we are free from societal expectations? One of the most significant events in the film is the nightclub scene where the mask first interacts with Tina Carlisle. This moment is both a visual and emotional spectacle, showcasing the mask's ability to amplify Stanley's hidden confidence and charisma. The elaborate dance number is a testament to the film's technical brilliance, blending Jim Carrey's physical comedy with impressive choreography and special effects. Beyond its entertainment value, this scene explores themes of identity and self-expression. Stanley, through the mask, becomes the person he wishes he could be: fearless, charming, and magnetic. However, this event also sets the stage for a deeper conflict: the realization that external transformation cannot substitute for internal growth. The antagonistic relationship between Stanley and Dorian Tyrell, the film's primary villain, is another critical element. Dorian's use of the mask contrasts sharply with Stanley's. While Stanley's transformation is playful and chaotic, Dorian's is dark and malevolent, emphasizing the duality of the mask's power. The scene where Dorian takes control of the mask demonstrates how power can corrupt and amplify existing traits. Dorian's already ruthless nature becomes monstrous, providing a stark warning about the dangers of unchecked ambition. This conflict serves as a commentary on morality, suggesting that power reveals rather than changes one's true character. The emotional core of the film lies in Stanley's relationships, particularly with Tina and his dog, Milo. Tina's arc as a character is more than just a romantic subplot. Her interactions with both Stanley and the mask reveal her own journey of self-discovery. The climactic moment when Tina chooses Stanley over Dorian is a turning point, not only for their relationship but also for Stanley's growth. This decision reaffirms the film's message that true connection comes from authenticity, not from putting on a facade. Similarly, Milo's role, while comedic, underscores themes of loyalty and bravery. The moments where Milo helps Stanley, particularly during high-stakes situations, add emotional weight to the story, reminding viewers of the importance of companionship. The climactic showdown between Stanley and Dorian is a culmination of the film's themes and conflicts. This scene is not just about defeating the villain, it's about Stanley reclaiming his agency. When Stanley removes the mask and confronts Dorian as himself, it signifies his acceptance of who he truly is. This act of bravery and self-assertion resonates deeply, as it marks Stanley's transformation from a passive observer of his own life to an active participant. The resolution of this conflict ties together the film's exploration of identity, power, and the human need for self-acceptance. From a critical perspective, The Mask excels in its use of humor to tackle complex ideas. The exaggerated antics of the mask might seem purely comedic on the surface, but they serve as a metaphor for the human psyche. The mask allows Stanley to explore parts of himself that he otherwise suppresses, acting as a vessel for both liberation and chaos. This duality is reflected in the film's visual style, which draws heavily from classic cartoons. The bright colors, exaggerated movements, and surreal scenarios create a sense of whimsy while also emphasizing the film's underlying message. Embracing one's flaws and quirks is essential for personal growth. The thematic resonance of The Mask extends to its commentary on societal expectations. Stanley's initial struggles stem from his inability to fit into traditional molds of masculinity and success. The Mask provides a way to escape these constraints, allowing him to become the life of the party and the hero of the story. However, the film ultimately suggests that true empowerment comes from within. By the end of the movie, Stanley learns that he doesn't need the mask to be confident or courageous. This resolution offers a hopeful message about the value of self-belief and authenticity. The film's reception further highlights its impact. While it was marketed as a comedy, critics and audiences alike recognized its deeper layers. The combination of groundbreaking special effects, a charismatic lead performance, and a compelling narrative made The Mask a critical and commercial success. Its ability to balance humor with heartfelt moments ensured that it resonated with a wide audience, cementing its place as a classic of 1990s cinema. In conclusion, the significant events in The Mask are more than just plot points. They are carefully crafted moments that contribute to the film's enduring appeal. Through its exploration of identity, power, and self-discovery, the movie offers a rich narrative that goes beyond its comedic surface. By blending humor, heart, and technical innovation, The Mask creates an experience that is as thought-provoking as it is entertaining, leaving a lasting impression on viewers. The Making of The Mask, 1994, is a story almost as colorful and lively as the movie itself. From its origins as a dark comic book to the comedic masterpiece it became, the journey of bringing Stanley Ipkiss and his zany alter ego to the big screen is filled with fascinating production details, unexpected challenges, and moments of serendipity that shaped the film we know and love today. The film started its life as an adaptation of a much darker comic book series by Dark Horse Comics. In its original form, The Mask was a gritty, violent tale with a protagonist whose antics often led to catastrophic consequences. However, when New Line Cinema acquired the rights, they decided to reimagine the story as a comedy, believing it would resonate better with a broader audience. This shift in tone laid the groundwork for the film's unique blend of humor and chaos, making it a standout in 1990s cinema. Casting Jim Carrey as Stanley Ipkiss was perhaps the most pivotal decision in the film's production. At the time, Carrey was already known for his over-the-top physical comedy from his stint on In Living Color, but he had yet to prove himself as a bankable leading man. However, director Chuck Russell saw in Carrey the perfect mix of charm, goofiness, and elasticity needed to bring the character to life. Carrey's involvement would not only define the film but also catapult him to superstardom. During production, Carrey's physicality proved invaluable. The actor performed many of his own stunts and relied on his natural expressions and movements to enhance the character's cartoonish persona. This not only saved the production money on visual effects but also allowed for a seamless blend between Carrey's performance and the CGI. One memorable anecdote involves the iconic scene where the mask swallows a bomb whole. The special effects team initially planned to create an elaborate CGI sequence, but Carrey's exaggerated expressions during filming were so convincing that minimal effects were needed to sell the gag. The visual effects in The Mask were groundbreaking for their time, blending CGI with traditional techniques to create the film's larger-than-life aesthetic. Industrial Light and Magic, ILM, the studio behind the effects, used cutting-edge technology to transform Carrey's face into a living cartoon. One of the most innovative techniques involved stretching Carrey's face digitally, a process that required meticulous frame-by-frame editing. These effects, though relatively modest by today's standards, were revolutionary in 1994, earning the film an Academy Award nomination for Best Visual Effects. The mask itself went through several iterations before the final design was chosen. Early prototypes were more sinister, reflecting the comic book's darker roots, but the team eventually settled on a simpler, more approachable look. This decision not only aligned with the film's comedic tone but also allowed Carrey's performance to shine through. Interestingly, the green color of the mask was inspired by a classic film technique. It mimicked the color used for old-school monster movie makeup, giving it an otherworldly yet familiar feel. Behind the scenes, the atmosphere on set was reportedly as lively as the movie itself. Carrey's improvisational skills often left the cast and crew in stitches, and many of his ad-libs made it into the final cut. One of the most iconic lines, "Sis Mokin," was a spur-of-the-moment addition by Carrey. Cameron Diaz, who made her film debut as Tina Carlisle, often spoke about how welcoming and supportive Carrey was during filming, helping her feel comfortable in front of the camera. Diaz's casting as Tina Carlisle is another fascinating story. Initially, the role was meant for a more experienced actress, but after an extensive search, Diaz, a then-unknown model, was cast just days before production began. Her chemistry with Carrey was undeniable, and her performance as the sultry yet kind-hearted lounge singer added depth to the story. Diaz's entrance in the Coco Bongo nightclub is one of the film's most memorable scenes, and it's said that her stunning presence on screen left the crew in awe during filming. The production wasn't without its challenges, though. The film's modest budget of $23 million meant the team had to get creative with resources. For instance, the elaborate dance sequence at the Coco Bongo, where the mask performs a high-energy samba, was shot on a relatively tight schedule. Carrey and Diaz rehearsed the choreography extensively, and their performances were so spot-on that the sequence was completed in fewer takes than anticipated. The scene remains a testament to the cast and crew's dedication and ingenuity. Filming took place in various locations around Los Angeles, with some scenes requiring elaborate sets to create the film's whimsical world. Edge City, the fictional urban setting, was designed to feel both familiar and exaggerated, much like the characters inhabiting it. The production design team worked tirelessly to strike this balance, using vibrant colors and exaggerated architecture to reflect the film's cartoonish tone. One fun behind-the-scenes story involves Milo, Stanley's loyal Jack Russell Terrier. The dog, played by a canine actor named Max, was a scene stealer and required extensive training to pull off some of the film's most memorable moments. One such scene, where Milo dons the mask and wreaks havoc, required months of preparation and multiple takes to capture the perfect shot. Max's performance was so endearing that he became an audience favorite, adding heart and humor to the story. The film's music also played a crucial role in setting its tone. Composer Randy Edelman crafted a score that combined jazz, swing, and traditional orchestral elements, perfectly complementing the film's energetic vibe. The soundtrack, featuring classics like Cuban Pete, became an instant hit, further cementing the film's cultural impact. Carrey's performance of Cuban Pete is a standout moment, blending music, comedy, and chaos into a scene that remains iconic decades later. As the film moved into post-production, the team faced the challenge of blending Carrey's live-action performance with the digital effects seamlessly. This required a level of precision and collaboration that was rare for the time. The success of this effort is evident in the final product, where the boundary between Carrey's physical comedy and the visual effects becomes almost imperceptible. When The Mask premiered in 1994, it was an instant hit, grossing over $350 million worldwide. This success was not just a testament to the film's technical achievements but also to its universal appeal. Audiences were captivated by its humor, heart, and groundbreaking visuals, and it quickly became a cultural phenomenon. The movie's success also solidified Jim Carrey's status as a Hollywood superstar, launching him into a series of iconic roles throughout the 1990s. Reflecting on the making of The Mask, it's clear that the film's charm lies not just in its story but in the passion and creativity of everyone involved. From Carrey's magnetic performance to the groundbreaking effects and the unforgettable music, every element came together to create a film that continues to entertain and inspire. Behind the scenes, it was a labor of love, filled with laughter, challenges, and moments of brilliance that have left an indelible mark on cinema history. The world of The Mask, 1994, is as vibrant and exaggerated as its titular character, with every element of its setting and cinematic style working together to create a unique visual and emotional experience. Edge City, the fictional urban landscape where the story unfolds, serves as both a character and a backdrop in the film. Its chaotic yet oddly familiar vibe provides the perfect stage for Stanley Ipkiss's transformation into the outrageous, green-faced alter ego, The Mask. From the carefully crafted urban streets to the lively Coco Bongo nightclub, each location is meticulously designed to mirror the movie's whimsical tone and larger-than-life energy. Edge City itself is an amalgamation of urban tropes, blending elements of the noir genre with comic book surrealism. The city's architecture, with its towering skyscrapers and shadowy alleyways, creates a sense of scale and danger, reflecting the duality of Stanley's mundane existence and the larger-than-life antics of The Mask. The use of exaggerated angles and bold neon lighting makes Edge City feel almost cartoonish, blurring the line between reality and fantasy. This design choice immerses the audience in the film's zany world, making every action and gag feel like a natural extension of the environment. One of the most iconic locations in the film is the Coco Bongo nightclub, a glittering hub of glamour and excitement that contrasts sharply with Stanley's drab apartment and office. The Coco Bongo is a visual feast, with its Art Deco-inspired interiors, dazzling lights, and energetic atmosphere. It's here that Stanley, as The Mask, truly comes alive, taking center stage in wild dance numbers and over-the-top antics. The design of the nightclub enhances these scenes, with the vibrant colors and elaborate set pieces amplifying the sense of chaos and joy. The Coco Bongo's opulence also serves as a metaphor for Stanley's deepest desires for excitement, recognition, and romance. Stanley's apartment, on the other hand, is intentionally bland and unremarkable, reflecting his mundane life and unfulfilled dreams. The space is cluttered with comic books, old furniture, and a sense of stagnation, underscoring Stanley's initial lack of confidence and direction. This stark contrast between his home and the dynamic world of The Mask highlights the transformative power of the mystical artifact and the possibilities it unlocks for him. The drab setting of Stanley's apartment serves as a visual reminder of what he's escaping when he dons the mask. The film's cinematography plays a crucial role in establishing its tone and mood. Directed by Chuck Russell, the visual style embraces bold, exaggerated movements and angles to match the energy of the story. The camera often mirrors the mask's hyperactivity, swooping and zooming in ways that feel almost animated. This approach is particularly evident in the action sequences, where quick cuts and dynamic angles enhance the sense of chaos and excitement. For instance, when the mask escapes from a group of gangsters, the camera moves with frenetic energy, capturing every exaggerated leap and flourish. Lighting is another key element that shapes the film's atmosphere. Edge City is often bathed in neon hues, with vibrant greens, reds, and blues dominating the color palette. These colors are not only visually striking but also thematic, with the green of the mask's face symbolizing its supernatural and transformative qualities. The use of chiaroscuro lighting, particularly in the darker scenes, adds a sense of drama and mystery, echoing the noir influences that underpin the film. This interplay between light and shadow helps to ground the film's cartoonish elements in a more tangible world. The visual effects in The Mask are groundbreaking for their time, blending CGI with traditional techniques to create a seamless integration of live action and animation. Industrial Light and Magic, ILM, brought The Mask's cartoon-like antics to life, using digital technology to stretch, squash, and transform Jim Carrey's face and body in ways that defy the laws of physics. These effects are particularly effective because they feel like a natural extension of the character rather than a gimmick. For example, when the mask pulls a mallet out of thin air or spins into a whirlwind, the visual effects enhance Carrey's performance rather than overshadow it. The film's use of practical effects and props also adds to its charm. The mask itself, a simple yet striking wooden artifact, is a central visual motif that ties the story together. Its design is both mystical and approachable, with its green hue and carved features hinting at its otherworldly origins. The transformation sequences, where Stanley first puts on the mask, are a masterclass in blending makeup, prosthetics, and digital effects, creating a moment that feels both magical and visceral. The music and sound design further enhance the film's cinematic elements, creating a sensory experience that complements the visuals. Randy Edelman's score combines jazzy, swing-inspired melodies with traditional orchestral elements, reflecting the duality of the film's tone. The music transitions seamlessly between light-hearted whimsy and dramatic tension, underscoring the emotional beats of the story. The use of diegetic music, particularly in scenes set at the Coco Bongo, adds an extra layer of immersion, making the nightclub feel like a living, breathing part of Edge City. Sound effects are used creatively throughout the film to emphasize the cartoonish nature of the mask's antics. From exaggerated whooshes and pops to comical boings and zings, the sound design mirrors the slapstick humor of classic animation. These effects not only enhance the comedic timing but also reinforce the idea that the mask exists in a heightened reality where anything is possible. The iconic "Sismokin" catchphrase, delivered with a mix of vocal distortion and reverb, has become synonymous with the character and is a testament to the power of sound in shaping a film's identity. Another crucial element of the film's setting is its use of costumes and makeup to define characters and enhance the story. The mask's bright yellow zoot suit, inspired by 1940s swing culture, is both flamboyant and iconic, perfectly capturing the character's larger-than-life personality. The suit's vibrant color and sharp tailoring contrast sharply with Stanley's muted, ill-fitting work clothes, symbolizing his transformation from a meek everyman to a confident, unstoppable force. The attention to detail in the costumes extends to the supporting characters as well, with each outfit reflecting their personalities and roles within the story. The overall design of the mask draws heavily from the golden age of Hollywood, with nods to classic films and animation. The exaggerated movements and expressions of the mask pay homage to the physical comedy of legends like Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton, while the vibrant, larger-than-life world of Edge City echoes the technicolor extravagance of old-school musicals. This blending of influences creates a timeless aesthetic that appeals to audiences of all ages. In many ways, the setting and cinematic elements of the mask are as much a character as Stanley Ipkiss or Tina Carlisle. They not only provide a backdrop for the story but actively shape its tone, mood, and impact. The film's ability to balance the fantastical with the relatable is a testament to the creativity and vision of its filmmakers. By creating a world that feels both larger than life and grounded in emotional truth, The Mask continues to captivate audiences and remain a beloved classic in the realm of comedy and adventure. Behind the vibrant, zany antics of The Mask, 1994, lies an equally fascinating story of its creation. The making of this beloved film was filled with creative challenges, surprising moments, and collaborative efforts that ultimately turned a seemingly straightforward comic book adaptation into a wildly successful, genre-defining film. Much of the magic on screen can be attributed to the passionate cast and crew, who worked tirelessly to bring the surreal world of Stanley Ipkiss and his larger-than-life alter ego to life. One of the most crucial behind-the-scenes elements that contributed to the film's distinctiveness was the collaboration between director Chuck Russell and the creative team. Russell, known for his work on other iconic films like The Blob, 1988, had a clear vision of combining elements of physical comedy, visual effects, and comic book aesthetics to create something uniquely entertaining. The filmmakers knew they had a responsibility to deliver an experience that captured the whimsical, outrageous nature of the original comic series while still appealing to a broad audience. As a result, the film blends cartoonish spectacle with relatable emotional beats, a balance that was carefully crafted from pre-production all the way through to the final cut. From the outset, Jim Carrey was a driving force behind the film's unique energy. Carrey, who was just beginning to gain recognition as a comedic powerhouse after his breakout roles in Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, 1994, and The Mask, brought an unparalleled level of physicality to the role of Stanley Ipkiss / The Mask. His commitment to the character extended beyond mere acting. He fully embraced the absurdity of the role, committing to the exaggerated mannerisms and slapstick routines that would define the film. One of the most memorable stories from the set involves Carrey's dedication to staying in character while filming. It's well known that Jim Carrey is a master of physical comedy, and the demands of the role of The Mask required him to push his body and mind to the limit. His performance was a mix of acrobatics, facial contortions, and wildly exaggerated expressions, all of which were integral to bringing the cartoonish qualities of The Mask to life. However, creating such a physically demanding character wasn't without its challenges. Carrey faced numerous hurdles while working on set, particularly when it came to the physical effects and makeup. The transformation from Stanley to The Mask required an extensive makeup process that could take up to 4 hours each day. The mask itself, a key piece of the story, was designed to look both mischievous and mystical. Made from ancient materials, it needed to reflect a supernatural aura while also serving as a whimsical prop. The design team worked closely with Carrey to ensure the mask complemented his physical style. This collaboration resulted in several hilarious moments during filming. There was one memorable incident where Carrey and the crew were rehearsing a scene involving the mask's exaggerated movements. During a particularly intense moment of improvisation, Carrey's wild movements caused the mask to fly off his face and smash into the wall, much to the crew's surprise. While the incident was chaotic, it was a testament to Carrey's commitment to the character, and the crew quickly adapted to make the scene work. Beyond the physical demands, Carrey's enthusiasm was contagious, helping to foster a sense of camaraderie on set. It wasn't uncommon for Carrey to improvise on the spot, injecting moments of absurdity into the scenes that weren't originally scripted. His energetic improvisation led to many of the film's funniest lines and moments, including the iconic "Sismokin, catchphrase, which Carrey came up with on the fly. This kind of improvisation became a hallmark of the film, with many of Carrey's spontaneous ideas contributing to the movie's distinctive tone. While Carrey's performance was undoubtedly central to the film's success, the cast's interactions were also integral to the overall chemistry. Cameron Diaz, in her breakout role as Tina Carlyle, portrayed a woman torn between the dangerous allure of the gangster world and the irresistible charm of Stanley / The Mask. Diaz's chemistry with Carrey was electric, and much of their dynamic came from their natural rapport. One behind-the-scenes story that exemplifies their chemistry occurred during the film's nightclub scenes, where Carrey and Diaz were tasked with dancing together. While the choreography was meticulously planned, the playful, off-the-cuff nature of their movements was what truly brought the scene to life. Carrey's improvisational skills were matched by Diaz's willingness to embrace the absurdity of the situation, resulting in a memorable, fun-filled performance that captivated audiences. Another memorable moment occurred when the two actors filmed the scene where Stanley, as the Mask, first meets Tina at Coco Bongo. Carrey, ever the perfectionist, insisted on performing many of his own stunts and comedic routines, even going so far as to work with the special effects team to ensure that every movement felt exaggerated and cartoonish. The result was a scene brimming with energy, as Carrey twisted and contorted his body in ways that felt as if they came straight out of a cartoon. Diaz, on the other hand, brought a grounded, relatable quality to her performance, making her character's attraction to the Mask believable despite his outlandish behavior. The success of this dynamic can be traced back to the incredible rapport that developed between Carrey and Diaz on set. Despite the moments of improvisation and lightheartedness, there were also challenges in bringing the Mask to life. The use of visual effects was groundbreaking for its time, as the film employed a mix of practical effects and cutting-edge computer-generated imagery, CGI. Industrial Light and Magic, ILM, the renowned visual effects company, worked tirelessly to bring the cartoonish antics of the Mask to life. One of the biggest hurdles was achieving the seamless integration of Carrey's live-action performance with the visual effects, especially in scenes where his body would stretch and warp in impossible ways. The team at ILM had to design a special rig that allowed Carrey to perform some of his wildest moves while ensuring that the effects would appear believable and fluid. The challenges of combining live action and CGI were not without their hiccups. At one point, during a particularly complicated sequence where the Mask transforms into a cartoon character, the effects team struggled to make the animation blend seamlessly with Carrey's physical movements. Carrey's performance required perfect synchronization with the visual effects, which sometimes meant filming the same scene multiple times to capture the right timing. The crew had to be patient and persistent, but in the end, the work paid off, resulting in some of the most iconic and memorable sequences of the film. Filming The Mask was not without its physical toll, either. Carrey, known for his energetic and over-the-top style, often threw himself into scenes with wild abandon. In one instance, Carrey had to film a sequence where he performed an elaborate dance routine while wearing a tight-fitting suit and prosthetic makeup. The physicality of the scene was taxing, and Carrey later admitted that it was one of the most exhausting parts of the production. Yet, despite the fatigue, Carrey maintained his sense of humor, frequently cracking jokes between takes and keeping the mood light on set. One of the most significant challenges, however, was the transformation process that Carrey had to undergo every day before shooting. The elaborate makeup required not only hours of preparation but also extensive physical adjustments. Carrey's face had to be transformed into the Mask's exaggerated expression, a process that involved layers of prosthetics and paint. At one point during filming, Carrey's mask began to peel off due to the extensive sweating from his performance. Despite these setbacks, the team worked together to make sure that Carrey's transformation was flawless, and each scene of The Mask was imbued with the wild, unpredictable energy that fans came to love. Despite the challenges, the collaboration between the actors, director, and visual effects team made The Mask a true cinematic triumph. The experience of making the film was filled with unexpected moments of creativity, improvisation, and sheer determination. From Jim Carrey's commitment to his character to the challenges of blending physical comedy with cutting-edge effects, the making of The Mask was as unpredictable and entertaining as the film itself. It was this behind-the-scenes synergy that brought the iconic film to life, ensuring its place as a beloved classic in the realm of comedy and superhero cinema. The making of The Mask, 1994, was an unpredictable, thrilling, and challenging adventure for everyone involved. Behind the vibrant, cartoonish world of Stanley Ipkiss and his over-the-top alter ego, The Mask, lay an equally fascinating and often chaotic journey. As with many films of its genre, it was a unique blend of physical comedy, visual effects, and heart, all coming together through the efforts of a dedicated cast and crew. However, the process was far from smooth. There were challenges, surprises, and moments of creative brilliance that made The Mask the iconic film it became. One of the key contributors to the film's success was Jim Carrey, who, at the time, was just starting to emerge as a major comedic talent. Carrey, known for his wild, energetic performances and impeccable physical comedy, was the perfect fit for the role of Stanley Ipkiss, a mild-mannered banker who transforms into a chaotic, superpowered character when he wears a mysterious mask. However, Carrey's commitment to the character was more than just showing up and performing lines. He fully immersed himself in the role, physically and mentally, taking his performance to places few actors would dare to go. The transformation from Stanley to The Mask was one of the most challenging aspects of the production. Carrey would spend hours in the makeup chair every day, as a team of special effects artists applied the prosthetics and painted his face to resemble the exaggerated features of the mask. The process could take up to 4 hours each day, making it a grueling experience for Carrey, especially given the high-energy nature of his character. Carrey often joked that he would do anything to get out of the makeup chair, but once he was in full costume, he would fully embrace the absurdity of the mask. He became a force of nature, wild, unpredictable, and utterly committed to every outrageous movement. The practicalities of wearing the mask created a host of difficulties, though. For one thing, the mask itself was heavy, and Carrey had to move with a sense of wild abandon, all while maintaining physical control. The design of the mask, with its exaggerated features, large eyes, pointy teeth, and an enormous grin, was a visual challenge in itself. Carrey had to adjust his performance to match the character's larger-than-life appearance, often pushing his body to its limits to execute some of the slapstick, high-energy moves that the character was known for. In fact, there was one day on set when Carrey's physicality became so extreme that his mask literally flew off his face during a sequence. The entire crew froze, but it was an amusing moment that highlighted Carrey's passion for the character and the chaotic nature of the film. A particularly hilarious incident took place when Carrey was filming a scene where he had to stretch his face into impossible shapes. During the shot, he contorted his face to such an extent that it caused the prosthetic to crack, forcing the production team to stop and repair the damage. While this was a setback, it was just another example of how Carrey's commitment to the physicality of his role led to unpredictable and often amusing moments on set. Carrey was known for improvising his lines and physical gestures, making the process even more unpredictable for the crew. At one point, Carrey suggested that his character should have a catchphrase, something that would encapsulate the mask's larger-than-life personality. Carrey came up with "Sismokin" on the spot, a line that would become one of the most iconic moments of the film. The sheer spontaneity of the line, and Carrey's delivery, became a defining feature of the film's zany tone. While Carrey's performance was undoubtedly a highlight, The Mask also benefited from a talented supporting cast. Cameron Diaz, in her first major film role, brought her own brand of charm and wit to the character of Tina Carlisle. Tina is a lounge singer with a troubled past, but her chemistry with Stanley/The Mask is undeniable. Diaz was initially nervous about working with the much more experienced Carrey, but the two quickly formed a close bond. Carrey's outrageousness and Diaz's grounded performance complemented each other perfectly. One behind-the-scenes story from the set that highlights this chemistry occurred during the iconic nightclub scene. As Carrey performed his wild improvised dance moves as the Mask, Diaz was right there with him, matching his energy and contributing to the overall zaniness of the moment. The two spent hours rehearsing, and their playful energy translated to an unforgettable scene on screen. Carrey's wild antics, paired with Diaz's grounded performance, created a dynamic that was fun and believable. Diaz later recalled how Carrey's humor and improvisation on set kept the atmosphere light and spontaneous. While Carrey was the driving force of the film's humor, Diaz's more subtle comedic timing was essential in balancing the larger-than-life nature of the mask with more tender moments between her and Stanley. Together, they formed a partnership that elevated the film, making it more than just a typical superhero comedy. However, the behind-the-scenes experience was not without its challenges. The film's reliance on both practical effects and cutting-edge CGI presented a number of hurdles for the crew, who were working with technology that was still relatively new at the time. The film's blend of live-action performances and animation was groundbreaking, but it came with a set of technical difficulties. One of the most significant challenges was achieving the seamless integration of Carrey's performance with the visual effects, especially during the scenes where the mask's face and body stretch and distort in impossible ways. To achieve the iconic, cartoonish movements of the mask, the special effects team, led by Industrial Light and Magic (ILM), had to create digital effects that blended with Carrey's physical performance. This required multiple takes and precise timing to ensure that Carrey's exaggerated movements matched the animated elements. In one scene, the mask's body stretches impossibly long, making it appear as though he is going through a cartoonish transformation. For this to work, Carrey had to synchronize his actions with the effects, often repeating the same movements until the timing was perfect. This wasn't always easy, as Carrey had to perform these wild stunts and physical gags while wearing a suit that was restrictive, and sometimes the prosthetics would start to peel off or become uncomfortable during particularly intense scenes. The effects crew worked tirelessly to create the iconic look of the mask, making use of a combination of prosthetics, animatronics, and computer-generated imagery. ILM was responsible for the visual effects, and they faced the challenge of making the mask's movements seem both exaggerated and believable. To do this, the team relied on motion capture technology to track Carrey's body movements and translate them into the animated features of the mask. This innovative technology allowed the filmmakers to create the over-the-top, cartoonish visuals that became one of the film's most defining aspects. While these technical challenges were time-consuming, they were ultimately successful in helping bring the character to life in a way that had never been seen before in cinema. In addition to the visual effects, the film also featured extensive use of practical effects. One memorable example was the scene where the mask inflates his body to an enormous size. This effect was achieved using a combination of mechanical devices and clever camera tricks. Carrey wore a special suit, which was inflated using hidden air hoses. The visual illusion was convincing, and it required careful planning and coordination between the special effects and camera teams to ensure that the shot looked seamless. There were also several moments in the film where the mask's head would stretch or distort in wild, cartoonish ways. These moments were achieved using prosthetics and animatronics, which had to be carefully coordinated with Carrey's physical movements. The process of creating the mask was full of unexpected moments, both on and off the set. One of the more surprising stories comes from a scene in which the mask engages in an all-out brawl with the gangsters. Carrey had choreographed a series of comedic fight moves, but one of the stunts went awry. During one of the more elaborate action sequences, Carrey accidentally miscalculated a jump and ended up colliding with a prop, causing the set to shake and the crew to scramble. Despite the chaos, Carrey kept his cool and continued to perform the scene, improvising new moves on the spot to keep the energy high. The result was a memorable fight scene that perfectly captured the exaggerated, cartoonish feel of the film. Behind the camera, director Chuck Russell was instrumental in shaping the tone of the film. Russell, known for his work on The Blob, 1988, brought a sharp sense of humor and a knack for blending horror and comedy to the mask. He encouraged the cast to embrace the absurdity of the script, and it was under his direction that Carrey's outrageous improvisations found their place in the story. Russell also worked closely with the special effects team to make sure that the visual gags supported the humor without overshadowing the performances. Despite the chaos and challenges, the production of The Mask was marked by a sense of camaraderie and teamwork. The crew, cast, and director all worked together to bring the world of Stanley Ipkiss and The Mask to life, often overcoming obstacles and finding creative solutions to problems that arose. The energy on set was infectious, and it was clear that everyone involved shared a passion for creating something special. In the end, the hard work paid off, and The Mask became a box office hit, cementing Jim Carrey's place as a comedic icon and leaving a lasting legacy in the world of cinema. In the end, the making of The Mask was a roller coaster ride of creativity, improvisation, and technical achievement. Through the collaboration of the cast and crew, the challenges were met, and the results were nothing short of magical. The behind-the-scenes stories of The Mask reveal the dedication, perseverance, and sheer joy that went into making this unforgettable film. From Carrey's larger-than-life performance to the cutting-edge special effects, every detail came together to create a film that continues to be beloved by fans around the world. The Mask, 1994, is far more than just a wacky comedy. Beneath the surface of its cartoonish exterior lies a rich tapestry of themes and symbolism that explore the complexities of identity, transformation, and human desire. The film's blending of slapstick humor with deeper psychological and philosophical questions makes it a unique piece in the world of cinema. At its heart, The Mask is a tale of self-discovery, the consequences of unrestrained desires, and the battle between the two halves of the human personality, the normal self and the wild, untamed side. These themes are explored through the protagonist, Stanley Ipkiss, and his chaotic alter ego, The Mask, who embodies everything that Stanley suppresses in his everyday life. The film begins with Stanley Ipkiss, an ordinary, mild-mannered banker, stuck in the doldrums of his routine life. Stanley's life is a series of disappointments. He is overlooked at work, rejected by the woman he loves, and treated poorly by those around him. In many ways, Stanley represents the everyday man who feels powerless, stifled by societal expectations, and unable to assert himself. He longs for something more, something outside the boundaries of his mundane existence. When Stanley discovers the mysterious mask, it offers him the key to a fantastical escape, but also unleashes a force within him that he cannot control. The central theme of the movie revolves around identity. Stanley's journey is one of transformation, but it is not just physical. The mask doesn't merely change his appearance, it changes his entire persona. When Stanley wears the mask, he is no longer the shy, insecure man but a loud, charismatic, and impulsive figure, someone who is capable of feats that defy logic and reason. The mask represents not only an escape from the constraints of his life, but also the unleashing of his repressed desires. Through the mask, Stanley experiences the freedom to express his emotions, to live without the fear of judgment, and to embrace the wild, uninhibited side of his personality that has always been buried beneath the surface. However, the mask also symbolizes the darker side of human nature, the part of ourselves that is often hidden or repressed. As Stanley becomes the mask, he is no longer in control of his actions. The mask is a chaotic force, governed by whims and desires rather than reason. It is a manifestation of Stanley's deepest, most unrestrained impulses, which, when allowed to take over, lead to unpredictable and often destructive consequences. In one key scene, Stanley, as the mask, uses his newfound powers to engage in reckless behavior. He pulls off outrageous stunts, breaks the law, and causes havoc in the city. The mask's behavior is impulsive, wild, and without regard for the consequences, highlighting the danger of giving in to unchecked desires. The central conflict in the film revolves around Stanley's internal struggle between his normal self and the force unleashed by the mask. While the mask offers him freedom and power, it also brings him closer to losing control of who he truly is. Stanley begins to grapple with the question of whether he can keep the mask in check, or if it will eventually consume him entirely. This internal struggle is particularly evident when Stanley finds himself in a romantic relationship with Tina Carlisle, the femme fatale who is also entangled in the chaos created by the mask. At first, Stanley is drawn to Tina as his normal self, a man who dreams of love and acceptance but is too shy to make a move. However, once he transforms into the mask, he becomes an entirely different person, bold, confident, and flirtatious. The mask allows him to be someone he has always dreamed of being, but it also complicates his relationship with Tina, who is unsure of who she truly loves, the shy, vulnerable Stanley or the over-the-top, brash mask. This tension between the two sides of Stanley's identity is symbolic of the human condition. We all have moments in life when we feel constrained by societal norms and expectations, and we may fantasize about shedding our inhibitions and embracing a wilder version of ourselves. However, The Mask shows that embracing the chaotic, untamed side of our personalities without restraint can lead to unintended consequences. In Stanley's case, it leads to reckless behavior that puts those around him in danger, as well as the eventual realization that he cannot simply live in a world without consequences, no matter how fun it may seem. The film also explores the theme of power and responsibility. As Stanley becomes the Mask, he gains extraordinary abilities, from superhuman strength to the ability to manipulate his environment like a cartoon character. With these powers, he could do almost anything he wants: create havoc, take revenge on his enemies, and live without boundaries. But as the film progresses, Stanley begins to realize that with great power comes great responsibility. The consequences of his actions, while initially amusing, eventually catch up with him. The Mask's wild and reckless behavior leaves destruction in its wake, as Stanley's power grows stronger but becomes harder to control. This theme is reinforced when Stanley encounters the film's antagonist, Dorian Tyrell, who seeks to use the mask for his own personal gain. Dorian, much like Stanley, is also an embodiment of unchecked power, but he lacks the moral compass that Stanley struggles to find. The Mask, in a way, is a metaphor for the dangers of power without responsibility. The mask is a tool for both liberation and destruction, and how it is used depends on the person who wields it. The symbolism in the mask extends beyond Stanley's internal conflict and touches upon broader societal issues. The character of the Mask is a direct commentary on the dangers of unchecked ID, the primal, instinctual part of the psyche that is responsible for desires and drives. In psychology, the ID is often depicted as being in constant conflict with the superego, which represents societal norms and morality. Stanley's life before the mask is shaped by the constraints of the superego. He is polite, docile, and submissive to the rules of society. The mask, on the other hand, represents the ID in all its chaotic glory, unrestrained and impulsive. The tension between these two forces is central to the film's exploration of identity and the consequences of living without a sense of balance between the two. Moreover, the film's use of colors and visual design further emphasizes these themes. The vibrant green of the mask is a constant reminder of the chaos and unpredictability that comes with its power. The exaggerated, cartoonish visuals, such as the mask's rubber-like body stretches and contorts, serve to heighten the sense of the mask's transformative abilities. The color green itself is often associated with envy, greed, and desire, making it a fitting symbol for the wild, uncontrollable force that the mask represents. The transformation of Stanley into the mask is not just a physical one but a visual manifestation of his deeper psychological change. In terms of characters, Tina Carlisle represents the allure of the mask's promise, the temptation of a world free from the constraints of normalcy. While she initially appears to be a classic femme fatale, Tina's character is more complicated than it first seems. She, too, is a victim of circumstance, caught in the web of crime and manipulation by her relationship with Dorian Tyrell. Tina's attraction to the mask, while rooted in her desire for excitement and escape, ultimately leads her to question what kind of love she truly wants. As she becomes more entangled with Stanley and the mask, she must decide whether she is in love with the real Stanley or just the fantasy created by the mask. In a way, Tina represents the seductive pull of the wild, untamed self that the mask represents, but ultimately, she must confront the fact that such an existence is not sustainable in the long run. The themes explored in The Mask are not just confined to the film's central characters but resonate with a broader audience as well. The movie taps into universal desires, the wish to escape the constraints of everyday life, the yearning for freedom, and the search for one's true self. At the same time, it warns of the dangers of living without balance, of allowing the unrestrained side of our personalities to take over without regard for consequences. It speaks to the internal struggle we all face between who we are expected to be and who we truly wish to become. Ultimately, The Mask presents a dual vision of transformation, one that offers a thrilling escape but also poses profound questions about the nature of identity, power, and self-control. Through the character of Stanley Ipkiss and his transformation into the Mask, the film navigates the delicate balance between societal expectations and personal freedom, between order and chaos, and between the personas we construct for the world and the one we harbor deep inside. It is a tale of liberation but also of caution, a reminder that embracing the wild side of life must be done with awareness of its impact. The Mask is a comedic exploration of identity and transformation, and its symbols, the mask, the green color, the chaotic powers, carry much deeper meaning beneath the surface. The film's ultimate message is clear. True self-discovery requires understanding the consequences of both the mask we wear and the one we choose to remove. In The Mask, 1994, director Chuck Russell blends a variety of cinematic techniques to create a film that's both visually captivating and tonally dynamic. The film, a mix of slapstick comedy, superhero antics, and surreal fantasy, is a roller coaster ride of visual effects, vibrant colors, and high-energy sequences. What sets The Mask apart, however, is not just its script or performances, but how these techniques shape the film's mood, enhance the viewer's experience, and ultimately make the wild ride feel like a larger-than-life comic book come to life. From the very beginning, the film's visual aesthetic stands out. The use of bright, exaggerated colors, chiefly the striking green of the mask itself, dominates the screen. This visual flair is part of the film's core identity, pulling inspiration from comic book art and giving the audience a sense that they've stepped into a world where the laws of reality bend and stretch, much like the titular character. This emphasis on a bold, expressive color palette is supported by the filmmaking techniques Russell employs throughout the movie, helping to make The Mask a fun, fast-paced film that never slows down or loses its visual punch. One of the most striking aspects of the film's aesthetic is the use of special effects, especially considering it was made in the early 1990s when CGI was still in its infancy. The transformation sequence where Stanley Ipkiss, played by Jim Carrey, first becomes the Mask showcases an impressive combination of practical effects and early digital work, blending the physical with the supernatural. Carrey's face twists and contorts in exaggerated ways, pushing the boundaries of human anatomy and physical comedy. These transformations reflect the idea that the mask itself is more than just a physical object. It is a gateway to another version of Stanley Ipkiss, one that is liberated from all the social constraints of his normal life. The blending of live action and special effects creates an almost cartoonish atmosphere, underscoring the film's whimsical tone. The practical effects work on The Mask was groundbreaking for its time. A large portion of the film relies on masks, puppets, and animatronics, most notably in the scenes where the mask performs improbable feats or engages in slapstick comedy. For example, the sequences where the mask uses his cartoonish abilities to stretch his body, morph into various characters, or interact with his surroundings make the film feel like an animated feature brought to life. The way these effects are used enhances the physicality of Carrey's performance, making the transition between Stanley's ordinary, mild-mannered self and the chaotic mask feel seamless. The use of CGI in The Mask, while not as polished as modern-day techniques, still manages to capture the film's essence of exaggerated reality. In a particular sequence, the mask's face grows into a gigantic, comical expression, his eyes bulging out of his head. This visual gag, though rooted in comic book hyperbole, is still effective in conveying the larger-than-life transformation of Stanley into his alter ego. In this sense, the film is almost a visual experiment, blending traditional practical effects with groundbreaking digital technology, resulting in a film that felt fresh and exciting at the time of its release. The sound design also plays a significant role in the film's success, adding to its larger-than-life atmosphere. The Mask's voice, in particular, is a key element in creating the character's surreal presence. Carrey's vocal performance is paired with an energetic soundtrack that complements the high-intensity comedy. The use of sound and music heightens the sense of the character being unrestrained and unpredictable. The music itself, ranging from upbeat jazz to funky pop, aligns with the energy of the film, underscoring its manic tone. Another technique that enhances The Mask's storytelling is the use of camera work to heighten the character's energy and the comic book-inspired aesthetic. The camera frequently zooms in on exaggerated facial expressions, emphasizing Carrey's wild performances. These close-up shots allow the audience to fully immerse themselves in the comedic elements of the film, making each punchline and visual gag feel more impactful. The physicality of Carrey's performance is also supported by dynamic, kinetic camera movements, quick pans, sudden tilts, and rapid zoom-ins, enhancing the speed of action and giving the viewer the sensation that they are witnessing a live-action cartoon. The heightened sense of reality is further amplified by the use of visual metaphors. For instance, in the sequences where Stanley first wears the mask, the surroundings seem to distort. Colors become more vivid, shapes seem exaggerated, and even the physical world bends to the mask's whim. These techniques help visually communicate the internal transformation Stanley undergoes, emphasizing the disorienting power of the mask. It's not just Stanley who is changed, but the entire world around him. The use of color, animation, and surreal environments serves to reinforce the idea that Stanley's personality is being amplified, for better or worse, and that nothing is as it seems once the mask is involved. In terms of editing, the mask employs a fast-paced rhythm that mirrors the energy of its protagonist. The transitions between Stanley's mundane life and the chaotic world of the mask are smooth, allowing the narrative to flow naturally between moments of calm and intensity. The film's editing keeps the momentum going, matching the rapid-fire jokes and slapstick moments with snappy cuts that keep the energy high. The jump cuts between Stanley's normal, humdrum existence and his transformations into the mask provide both comic relief and a visual cue that the film operates in a space between reality and the fantastical. Moreover, the film's pacing is deliberately exaggerated, mirroring the cartoonish antics of its lead character. Carrey's performance as the mask, his facial expressions, physical movements, and comedic timing necessitated a certain style of editing to accentuate the humor. The quick cuts and rapid-fire sequence of events reflect the unpredictability and madness that the mask brings to the world, almost as though the film itself is subject to the same wild and chaotic nature as its title character. As for the film's box office performance, The Mask was a resounding success, grossing over $350 million worldwide, a massive achievement considering its modest budget of $23 million. Its success can be attributed to the unique combination of elements: Jim Carrey's star-making performance, the groundbreaking special effects, the comic book-inspired aesthetic, and the rapid-fire comedy that kept audiences entertained from start to finish. The film's ability to blend slapstick humor with high-concept fantasy captured the imagination of moviegoers, and its success made it a cultural touchstone of the 1990s. The film's financial success was also driven by its broad appeal. While The Mask is undeniably a family-friendly film, its humor and visual style were able to cross generational lines. Carrey's performance brought in younger audiences who were drawn to his zany, energetic character, while the film's visual effects and playful tone appealed to adults as well. Additionally, the integration of pop culture references and the character's cartoonish antics meant that The Mask resonated with a wide demographic, helping it become a cultural phenomenon that was referenced in everything from fashion to advertisements. The blend of humor, special effects, and catchy music also made The Mask a standout film in the 1990s. The movie's success solidified Carrey's status as one of Hollywood's biggest stars, and the film's unique combination of styles created a lasting legacy in the world of comedy and special effects cinema. The box office performance was a reflection of how perfectly the techniques of filmmaking and star power came together to produce a film that felt fresh, original, and incredibly entertaining. In conclusion, The Mask's success can be credited to its innovative filmmaking techniques, which allowed the film to stand out as a visually unique piece of cinema. The creative use of special effects, sound design, editing, and camera work all contributed to the film's surreal, fast-paced atmosphere, enhancing the viewer's experience and amplifying the film's comedic impact. The dynamic combination of these techniques, coupled with Jim Carrey's unforgettable performance, helped create a film that not only captivated audiences but also became an iconic part of 1990s cinema. Its box office performance and lasting influence are a testament to the power of innovative filmmaking and the magic that can happen when directors and actors embrace the wild, unpredictable nature of cinema. When looking back on The Mask, 1994, it's impossible to ignore the powerhouse performances that made the film unforgettable. Chief among them is Jim Carrey, whose portrayal of Stanley Ipkiss and his zany alter ego, The Mask, cemented his status as one of Hollywood's leading comedic talents. Carrey's magnetic presence and over-the-top physical comedy brought the film to life, transforming a fairly simple concept into a visual feast that audiences couldn't get enough of. Alongside Carrey, the film boasted a talented ensemble cast, including Cameron Diaz in her breakout role as the love interest, Tina Carlisle, and a range of supporting actors who added depth and color to the world of The Mask. Together, they helped bring Chuck Russell's wild, cartoonish vision to life. Jim Carrey's performance is often seen as the heart and soul of The Mask, and for good reason. His ability to seamlessly switch between Stanley's meek, mild-mannered persona and the manic, hyper-expressive The Mask is nothing short of astounding. This duality forms the backbone of the film, and Carrey's commitment to both parts allows the character to feel like a real person, despite the film's fantastical elements. The Mask itself is a creation of pure exaggeration, a being who is free from any societal constraints, and Carrey brings that essence to life with every twitch of his face and every exaggerated gesture. What Carrey does so brilliantly in the film is embody the inner chaos of Stanley's character, showing his frustrations, insecurities, and desires through broad comedy and physicality. The transformation from a timid, almost invisible man into a larger-than-life character who is capable of anything is an arc that could only have been executed by a performer with Carrey's talents. But it wasn't just Carrey's boundless energy and commitment to the physical comedy that made his portrayal of The Mask so iconic. It was also his ability to tap into the character's deeper emotional layers. Despite being an over-the-top figure, The Mask is also a reflection of Stanley's suppressed desires. Through the green-faced alter ego, Stanley gains the freedom to express himself without fear of judgment, and Carrey's ability to capture the character's inner conflict, the battle between the quiet, passive Stanley and the bold, daring Mask, gives the film its emotional weight. Carrey's performance is a masterclass in balancing farcical humor with genuine emotional depth, and it's this balance that made his performance resonate with audiences. Cameron Diaz, in her breakout role as Tina Carlisle, provides the perfect foil to Carrey's manic energy. Tina, the sultry nightclub singer, is a character who could easily be reduced to a mere love interest, but Diaz brings her own energy and charm to the role. Tina is far from a passive bystander in the story. She has her own agency and a sense of self that makes her more than just a romantic foil to Stanley. Diaz's performance anchors the film's emotional center, especially in her interactions with Stanley and the Mask. The chemistry between her and Carrey is electric, creating a romantic subplot that adds another layer to the film's already complex mix of comedy, fantasy, and action. Diaz, who was relatively unknown at the time of filming, quickly became a household name after her star-making performance in The Mask. Her performance was key in bringing a sense of balance to the film, grounding it in reality while the wild antics of The Mask played out. Another key member of the cast is Peter Riegert, who plays the character of Charlie Shoemaker, Stanley's loyal best friend. Riegert's performance is a perfect complement to Carrey's high-energy antics, providing a more grounded presence that serves as the audience's point of reference amid the madness. Charlie is, for the most part, a normal guy trying to make sense of the chaos that surrounds him. Riegert brings a charming everyman quality to the character, and his reactions to Stanley's transformations into the Mask are a great source of humor throughout the film. As the film progresses, Charlie is pulled deeper into the world of the Mask, offering some of the film's most memorable comedic moments. His interactions with Carrey's Stanley are the glue that holds many of the film's more surreal moments together. The supporting cast includes several other standout performances, including that of Mike Starr as the villainous, bumbling gangster Dorian Tyrell. Starr's performance adds a delicious layer of menace to the film, contrasting sharply with the chaos and comedy of the central characters. Tyrell is the kind of villain who is both menacing and ridiculous, and Starr plays him with a certain flair that makes him memorable despite the film's often over-the-top tone. His character provides the perfect foil to Stanley and the Mask, creating conflict that drives the narrative forward. Starr's ability to balance the campy nature of the film with a touch of genuine threat makes him an integral part of the story. In interviews and behind-the-scenes discussions, Carrey has spoken extensively about how The Mask was a unique challenge for him as an actor. The physicality of the role required a level of stamina and control that Carrey, a seasoned comedian, had not fully explored before. He pushed the limits of his body, using every inch of his face and every muscle in his body to create the exaggerated movements that would become synonymous with the mask. He has also talked about the immense pressure of delivering a performance that could live up to the expectations of a film that was so heavily reliant on visual effects and comedic timing. Carrey's work ethic on set was relentless, often spending hours perfecting a single scene to ensure that every gesture and expression was just right. His commitment to his craft is evident in every frame of the film, and his boundless energy is infectious, helping to elevate the entire movie.